All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of the Armchair Football League Weekly Recap. I am joined with my co-host Steele. Steele, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Another week in the ACFL in the books, and you know something big may have happened this
Yeah,
week
yeah,
over
we
in
will
Pittsburgh.
we will get to why Steele is feeling kind of fantastic, but first, small little announcement here. We will have right now. We only have two games that are meant to be recorded, but we have a surprise game that will be flexed out. It is the Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles that will be premiering ahead of Thursday Night Football in real life. Um, so tune in for that because that is our biggest game of the week. And because of that, we're going to dig into this game a little bit. So, Steele, give me your thoughts on this game.
I mean, it's our biggest game of the week. It's our biggest game of the year, lining up into it, and these teams have fit the billing to this point as well. I mean, this is team one and team two in a lot of teams' eyes. Overall, wise, they're right neck and neck. Basically, offense and defense production, they're right neck and neck. Obviously, the Giants did drop a game leading into this, but I mean, we all were looking at it. We can't really blame them for also looking ahead to it. Um, this is the division that we saw at the top as the most competitive because of those two. And so, I mean, here we go, round one fight.
Yeah, I'm really mad at the actual NFL schedule makers for not accounting for what we do here in the ACFL and making their schedule because we're going to burn through this seasonal matchup. In 3 weeks. This is the first of two matchups. They both get a break after this week, and then they meet up one more time, and then that's it for the rest of the season. So that's pretty disappointing, but it is pretty exciting at the same time that we're going to get them this close together because the divisions. I'm not going to say it's going to be figured out at this stage, but it's going to cause a lot of uh, it's gonna cause a lot of I can't think of the word I'm looking for.
Basically, what he's trying to say is the hierarchy of power in the ACFL is about to change, right? I mean,
Yes,
sorry,
yes,
the way in the right.
exactly.
Wait, yeah, this is. I mean, these two teams are the largest players on the board to us,
Yeah,
and how their division shakes out the rest of the NFC and just the league as a whole. I mean, whichever these teams falls, you're looking at that 4 seed team having to host them.
yeah,
Um, so they're looking at this as how close are these teams? If this is like a drag out knockout fight like we hope it is, you're really scared to be in that fourth division team.
yeah,
Um, and to me, I love them being back to back. Like I think this sets them up to basically go to war 2 weeks out of three or something like that,
yeah,
regroup and come back together for the playoffs, make their adjustments,
yeah,
plan for this team. Because again, I think all of us are eyeing these teams in the NFC. So I think we see this game 3 times, and I think having that time in between can be a really big plus.
yeah,
Gives them time to build that resentment. If one of these teams drops both, I mean that's going to be sitting there on their record. It's going to be sitting there in the tiebreakers. They're going to be thinking about it the whole time, coming ready to fight for the playoffs. So to me, I don't hate it. It's always fun when you get the back-to-back divisional games. End of regular season playoffs, but I think there builds a little bit of that tension if it's spread out like this.
yeah. I mean, that's the thing is you kind of like for me, it's rough knowing that I have the Bills as the very last game of the season, and I think that'll be exciting. That'll be an exciting game to watch at the end of the season. But I think that because it's almost there's more tension now because they're so tightly packed together into the schedule, and it's still really early. Like we're not even they're going to be done with their seasonal matchup before the trade deadline. So it's if they can both split this series, they both have an opportunity the rest of the way to jockey for position. If one of them takes both games here, odds are they're winning the division, but at the same time, it's really hard to beat a team 3 times. So then you start getting into that playoff matchup and you go, all right, well, I don't really know if I buy that this team's going to win all 3 games. So it can really go either way. I don't if you lose both games, it sucks because I think you're looking at it as like, well, we lost the division, but at the same time, you're probably going to be playing the worst divisional winner, which right now is looking like it's going to probably come from the NFC South. So I don't think you're really terrified of the teams coming out of there. Um, could be the NFC North, which again, I'm not sure if you're either of these teams, you're really terrified about that either. So I don't think you're too afraid by losing both of these games. But you really want that division. I think both teams ideally would love a split.
Yeah, for sure. Getting into the matchup just a little bit, for me coming into this game, it's the defensive
You broke up a little bit there.
lines teams, but uh,
Can you go back? Cause
sorry,
yeah, you broke up a
going into
little.
this, yep, I'll start from the top here. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties, folks. For me, as I'm looking at this game and the series as a whole, it's the defensive lines for both sides that I look at. They will go where the defensive line goes to me. Both these teams are insanely talented, all not on the defensive line overall, but on the defensive line specifically. And they are both at the top of our sacks leaderboard. These defenses run when they get pressure. Whoever does it the best is going to come away with our wins here, at least in my guesstimation for it. But I mean, it's hard to win over either of these D lines because of how talented they are.
Yeah, I mean the other thing that I notice about this game too is uh, the Giants come off these past few weeks where the offense has stagnated. It hasn't really been what you hoped it was when you went out and bought like Mike Evans and all this other stuff. I think you were like look. I think if you asked like Bert and stuff like that, you were looking for more of a jump from this offense in the early part of the season. But you got that jump in the second half of the Saints game. They outscored them 28-0, and the game was 17-14 at the half. They won 45-17. So it's I don't know if something clicked in the second half or if it was just good team realizes they're playing bad team and bad team realizes they're playing good team. The Eagles, on the other hand, have been running through pretty much all the teams they played. So I think as you're going into this game, you're looking at the Giants and you're saying, you know, did they score? Did they kind of shoot their load in the second half of the Saints game and they don't have enough in the tank, or did something click and their offense is going to really take that next step? While with the Eagles is at a certain point they're going to have a hiccup game. They're going to have a game where like things aren't quite clicking. They're not running through everybody. Uh, you wonder if this is the game that happens.
Yeah, I mean, I can see this game going 100 different
Yeah,
ways. Just in all the ways that these teams can beat you. That's why this matchup's just so fascinating for me. It's I had to watch it.
yeah,
I could not watch it.
yeah. So we're definitely very excited for that. It's probably one of the most hyped up regular season games that I think that I can remember anyway, especially this early in the season. So uh, get your popcorn ready. We're going to move on to the next topic. We're going to get into why Steele is feeling pretty fantastic. Some breaking news, as people would have seen. The Pittsburgh Steelers made themselves a big trade, and they send Russell Wilson, a 2026, 2027, and 2028 first round pick to the Dallas Cowboys for Dak Prescott. So, Steele, you've done a little bit of musical chairs with your quarterbacks over the past few years. How do you feel landing Dak?
I've tried for Dak a couple of times. Dak has been a guy I've very much liked in the sim, in real life. Um, and so I think he's an MVP caliber quarterback. I think he should have won it 2 years ago. But he just had one bad game at the wrong time and opened the door. So I think he is a very good quarterback. And I've played the value game with quarterback for a long time. I have tried to, maximize either contract value or, asset value. And at a certain point, I am just limiting myself. So I ran into a point. It's like, and three firsts is historically not a great thing to give up for any player. Um, but I have to shoot the shot.
Well, I think you're uniquely situated in being able to give up the three firsts because you have a little bit of an older defense, especially, and a little bit of an older team that you've been kind of building around these past few years. So, yeah, you'd like to have the first round picks to keep trying to build after this, but at the same time, you also want to win with this core. And so if you have to give up you're going all in on this core. And I think that that's not necessarily a crazy thing to do, especially for a quarterback who is well rated, who does sim pretty well. You've got the pieces for him to succeed in sim well and get more out of your offense than I think you've been able to get out of your past few quarterbacks. Um, so it's definitely a lot. I think that at a certain point you will feel it, but at the same time, it you drastically increase your odds of being able to go grab a Super Bowl for 3 years. You've been one of the more successful teams here in the ACFL. Three AFC Championship game appearances in our 4 seasons, one Super Bowl appearance, and with quarterbacks that are holding you back. So now you give yourself another 3 years to really go for the Super Bowl. And so I think that's it's a steep price, but it's a worthy price. And I think in this division too, with the Bengals, I mean the Bengals are 5-0, and I don't think anybody really expected that either. You've got the Ravens that are struggling at 2-3, and you never have to really worry about the Browns. The Bengals being 5-0, I think you're looking at that and you're like, eventually there's going to be some regression to the mean. They're not. No one really came into this season with all the moves that they have made to try to retool. No one came into this season being like, this is going to be one of the best teams in the AFC. We were like, this will be a good team. They'll probably push for a wild card. They'll probably be in the wild card, but I don't think they're really going to compete with the Steelers or the Ravens for the AFC North. The Ravens have been a disappointment so far. So I think this move really puts you in a position to also lock up that division once the season gets further on, because you're only one game behind Cincinnati. You have 2 games against them, so I think this is a good deal for you, and I like it.
And you mentioned Cincinnati though, and the thing with Cincinnati and our tenure here is that no point in our games has there been any degree of confidence on our end that we could hang with them. That
Yeah,
we have never stopped Joe Burrow. We've never stopped this offense, and the defense has always seemed to have our number, especially the last 3 years. Now, 2 years going into this year. Obviously, we haven't played this year, but this era essentially where they went on their runs, we have just not been able to keep up with them, and it was not something that I felt confident in changing. Sticking with a mediocre quarterback, at some point, we just have to match their firepower. Um, and I hope that now with the talent of the roster that I do think is better, and trying to match some of that quarterback play, we can go into these games and feel like we can take their haymakers and keep fighting back.
yeah, yeah. No, I don't really think that there's anything wrong with this deal for you. I think for the Cowboys' perspective too, I think that this is a massive haul for them. I think I've been saying for a while this team is approaching a rebuild, and if they had a rough start to this season, they couldn't really wait much longer and keep prolonging this thing. So they're 2-3. It's not an awful start, but it's a start where you go, all right, we've tried to invest a little bit in this team as much as we possibly can, and it's just not happening. So we've got a team willing to give us a really nice future. They're going to be picking twice in the first round for 3 straight years now, and that 2027 class is looking pretty nice. And they've got some other guys they can sell off too to really increase their draft capital. So I think for them, it's the right move too. It was time.
Yeah, and it wasn't quite the rocky start that I was expecting to be needed to
Yeah,
get there. I mean, they were 2-2 when we basically started talking through the deal. But at the same point, I mean, they see what they're up against in the division too.
yeah,
As we talked about at the top, it's not like there's a lot of paths, and they hadn't played them yet either. I don't think so.
yeah,
It's like you're kind of looking at what more are you going to be able to accomplish
yeah.
at this point.
Exactly.
Um,
You're looking at it and you're saying like we're at best we're going to be fighting for the division that puts 3 teams in the playoffs, which is really hard to do. And even if we get to the playoffs, are we getting through either of those 2 teams? And not only that, there's other good teams that we'd have to get through as well. So, like I said, I think you're right. Like it's not the horrible start you were expecting for a sell off, but I think it's a very measured and realistic approach to the future of their team, and they're jumping in early, which is going to help them this season. I mean, trading Dak is going to increase the likelihood that they get a high pick this year as well, rather than a mediocre pick. So
Yeah,
I like that they're
exactly.
jumping in on it early. But we'll move on now. We're gonna look at the kind of go through the top 12-ish teams in the league, and we're just gonna say we're gonna buy or sell who we think has a real chance at at least making the Super Bowl, if not winning the Super Bowl. So we'll start with. You want to start with AFC or NFC? We'll start with NFC, I guess, because the Giants Eagles game, right?
Yeah.
All right.
I
So
wasn't gonna go quite so extreme and say Super Bowl. I was just gonna say like to basically meet the expectations of their record
okay. All right. So
at
we'll do
this
that.
point, or the
That's
team we expected.
we'll go with that criteria then.
Just because realistically, we only have like 4 or 5 teams we're thinking are Super Bowl,
Yeah,
expectation. You know what I
that's
mean?
true. That's fair.
Just kind of how the nature of tiers go essentially in the league.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, they start at the top. We'll start with our marquee game. I mean, I'm buying both of them.
Yeah.
I'm buying all their stocks every time one comes available. I'm buying it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. I think with the Eagles and the Giants, they've done exactly what they need to do. They've gone out. They've gotten talent. They've invested heavily in this window that they both have, and they're both performing. I think, like I said earlier, the Giants, the only thing you kind of worry about is that the offense has been a little stagnant to start the year. It hasn't quite given you the results that you'd expect, but I think they're coming along. I think that they're finding the right groove. We'll see if that continues. That's the question mark with that team, and that's I think where you decide if you would buy or sell them. And I think it's pretty unreasonable to sell them at this point in that regard.
yeah, those two are easy. They're 1 and 2 in the power rankings by most people. So like, it's
Yeah,
kind of hard to say anything other than, yep, they're the guys.
yeah. So we'll move on to the next. Go down to the NFC West with the 49ers. You buying or selling?
I'm selling. I don't. I think that they just had a nice schedule to start things off.
Yeah,
Uh, I'm selling them in regards to I don't feel good about their momentum in the division against Arizona. Um, Arizona is team of destiny playing style right now. Put up 30 points a game consistently, and the defense is playing scrappy. Like, I feel better about that than what I'm seeing out of the Niners, which is essentially Aaron Rodgers' hero ball right now.
yeah. I think when you get into it, I would probably the only reason why I can see myself buying them living up to a season expectation is their schedule is not that hard. And looking at their schedule the rest of the way, you have like Atlanta, Houston, the Giants, Arizona, and Chicago and Tennessee. So a handful of games, but the rest are like fairly. I would expect them to win. So I think that they're still going to put up a really good record. They can probably win a playoff game. So it's a little tough for me to say that I sell on them, but at the same time, like that offensive line is just so bad, and eventually I think you're going to get hit with at least 1 or 2 injuries, and that could kind of derail the season a little bit. So I need to see them go up against a team that's like that I think is really good. Like that Giants game, I think that stretch of like the Atlanta, Houston, and the Giants, I think will maybe push me a little bit more towards seller. But I'm at least right now I'm soft buying. um, but so then we move on to the Cardinals. Then with them, are you buying or selling?
I'm buying him. I'm on the hype train. Trevor Lawrence has always been a great performer here. He's always cooked, and these weapons are going off with him right now. So I just have a hard time believing the offense is this fake at this point in the year. There's gonna be some
Yeah,
falling off, just because nobody scores 32 points a game
yeah,
for a whole year. But I think that the defense is playing well in a way that they will grow. There's a very young defense. They are playing the kind of defense I expected the Saints to be playing, to an extent where this defense is just so young that they're probably going to make some plays, but they're going to hang in these games. And then eventually their defense is going to start making more plays
yeah.
as they start to grow. I think really they just need Lasser to get some fucking respect and get that boost. And then when they get that Lasser boost, that's kind of the main thing they're needing out of this defense is just a guy to try to be a little more shut down on the edge.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I would
that's kind of what
say
I see. I don't think this defense is very good right now, but they are playing up, and then they're only going to get better.
yeah, I would buy them as well. I'm expecting some regression on both sides of the football, but at the same time, they're still a solid team. As you said, Trevor Lawrence still simming well. He's been the phenom that he was advertised as to a lot of extent um, in the ACFL. Um, they also their schedule is not super difficult, and as you said, like their defense should get better and is playing above what you would have expected them to. I think in this early part of the season, so I also don't have huge expectations for them either. Like I'm not expecting them to be a 11, 12, 13 win team. So I'm buying them because I think at the very least they're going to be able to pull off 9 wins. I don't think it's I think it's a little unreasonable to think, especially at this point, that they're not going to meet at least 9 wins, and that's probably where I would have expected them to be roughly. Um, so yeah, I'm buying them as well. Uh,
So the
Next,
thing I would say is,
yeah,
if we look at the underlying stuff that we typically use, their defense is allowing way less yards relative to how many points they allow.
yeah,
So I think that's where I see this defense as having a legit this level impact because I think the yards will push up to where the points are rather
yeah,
than the opposite. I don't think there's a lot of room for this to get too much worse based off of the baseline they put out.
yeah,
And then on offense, their yards back up their touchdowns. They're not, getting short your field, something like that. They don't have the turnovers to back it up yet either. And like that's just, I mean, they're gonna have some.
yeah,
So I think they forced one turnover on a fumble. Like that's gonna increase and it's gonna regress pretty hard. So I think there's a lot of markers for this team to perform better than where they're sitting, even.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, Next up, we go to the Chicago Bears at 2-2. What do you say about them?
Go Bears. I mean, uh, I'll buy him with Stafford. I
Yeah,
mean, we're not dealing with the deepest of conferences right now, as teams look, and I think this team has the talent to do it. And Stafford, I mean, he is a little hot and cold here. He's kind of always been a little hot and cold, but you just need to get a hot at a big time. Um, he's had some monster performances for them, so I buy him just because Stafford, this defensive line has been a little bit, beaten up at this point in the year. They can get healthy, get Highsmith back. Mike Hill got hurt too, I think, for a little bit. So get both their edge rushers back, and then you can see the defense step back up.
yeah,
They're right where you'd expect them.
yeah. I'm going to buy them as well, just mostly because I also don't think that this division is super strong. I mean, we talked a little bit about Minnesota 0-4. They going into a game against the Browns, who I think many people expect to contend for the first overall pick, and they could barely get past them. The Lions are 2-3. Green Bay's only Green Bay's 2-2, so they're right there. But I'm not a big believer in Green Bay right now. I think that they could compete with the Bears a little bit, but I think right now I'm sticking with the Bears. I think they're gonna ride a pretty weak, I'm not gonna say a pretty weak, a weaker division than I think we anticipated. I think they'll be able to ride this all the way to the playoffs and winning the NFC North. So I think this you win this division with like 10 wins too. So in the NFC South, the Atlanta Falcons are 2-2. How do you feel about them?
I mean, I didn't buy him coming into the year.
Yeah,
Don't feel all that differently about him. But I mean, where my expectations were them making the playoffs. About it. So I think they're looking good to do just that, make the playoffs. I don't think there's really too much threat to them at this point um, in that division. Carolina's kind of up and down, so I
yeah,
think there could be a situation where both make the playoffs at the low end too. But I think they're a good team, so I expect them to kind of hold this sort of position where they're the 3 or 4 seed. Um, that's
yeah.
kind of how I see it.
I would agree. I think I buy that Carolina's juice is going to start running out. They've been pretty lucky over the past few years. I think that they won the division last year, being under five. They maybe did they get across 500, or did they finish 8 and
I
9?
think they did go 9-8. I
Yeah,
don't think they were under 500 because I think that the loser still had a chance in the tiebreakers to make the playoffs, and that team would have been 8-9.
yeah, they were both. I'm looking at the standings from last year. After week 16, Atlanta and Carolina were both 7 and 8, and Carolina made the playoffs. So I think that they won the last few games of the season. Um,
I also don't think their week 16 game. Oh yeah, week 17 game. Their second to last week. I don't think their second to last week mattered actually in the
yeah,
tiebreakers,
yeah.
if I remember it correctly. It only mattered week 18, so maybe they did lose. I don't remember them losing though.
Either way, I think that right now they're sitting at 2-2-1. I just don't. I think Atlanta's a little bit of a better team. I think that they've added some pieces. They've made some improvements in the offseason. And I just think that Carolina, especially trading like Devonte Adams before the season, I think that I think Carolina just doesn't quite have enough. So the competition for Atlanta isn't quite as strong. I think if you're one of these two teams in this division, you're worried about the wild card. You're worried about a team like Green Bay uh, knocking you out of the wild card spot. Um, and I think that's a legitimate concern, but I'm less concerned about that with the Falcons. I think that the Falcons have a stronger case to expect them to win the division. And I think up to this point, they've shown that that expectation is reasonable.
Yeah, they just got to get an offense that just throws the ball to Puka all the time.
Yeah.
Figure out what the Rams do.
Yeah.
And you're laughing just because I think they spread around too much.
Yeah.
They have good weapons around. I like their weapons, but I think you just have to use the super weapon in your offense way more than they do.
Yeah, I agree. Which also then brings us to the Panthers. Who are you buying or selling?
I mean, again, they are who we thought they were.
Yeah.
I buy them as a scrappy team. I don't think they're a team you want to line up against in any week because you know that in your heart of hearts there is nothing you can do if Bryce is going to be on
Yeah.
against you. He's proven it in the sim time and again to beat more talented teams, and he's got more of an uphill battle than in previous years, but he still does have enough talent around him to go off.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's tough to bet against Bryce in the sim, but I think looking at their schedule, looking at their team, I mean, they've got the Jets and the Bills. It helps that Dallas traded Dak before this week. They play each other this week, um, so if that helps them for sure. They play Green Bay. They still got to play San Francisco. So I think that their schedule is just a little bit more competitive than what their roster is capable of right now. Bryce will probably steal a game or two, which will help them. But I think at this point, I'm selling on the Carolina Panthers. If not, also just for the sake that I feel like we've bought every team we've gone over so far. Uh, so just to have a little disparity, I'm going to sell.
Yeah, I think I maybe have just been too pessimistic on the goal, essentially, with these teams. Because
Yeah,
a lot of these teams have played about where I wanted. I sold on the Niners, being the team that overperformed. But,
yeah,
like, for the most part, like, we were seeing the Falcons in these, like, top five conversations, and I didn't see them there coming into the year,
yeah,
despite the roster potentially being that good.
yeah,
I just didn't think the pieces fit. So that's kind of I think the difference here a little bit is that a lot of these NFC teams I expected to pull towards the middle this
yeah.
year.
So with that, we'll jump over to the AFC, and we will start with the top undefeated team, the Buffalo Bills. How do you feel about them?
Bye 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 baby. We love the Bills. Go Bills. Adam Thielen the goat. Get him into the actual Hall of Fame. You know, before we were just putting him in the Steelers Hall of Fame. We're putting him in the fucking actual Hall now.
Yeah, I mean it's this team. I said it I think earlier in one of our podcasts earlier this season. The Vita Vea trade last season, I think, is one of the biggest trades that we've had in the ACFL in the sense of the impact that it had on the team, because I think it really gave them a strength in a key area that has allowed them to really hold teams back on defense and allow Josh Allen to really be able to dominate. And Josh Allen is simming really, really well. They got the early win against the Jets, which definitely helps them, um, just for seeding too, as we go on. But this team is playing really well. They're one of our 4 undefeated teams remaining. Um, there's no reason to sell on this team.
Bengals,
Bills, Texans,
Texans.
Bengals, and
Yeah.
Eagles. Yeah,
Yep. But they are 3-0 in their division too
yeah,
at 5-0.
yeah,
So they are. I mean, they're taking. They got to notch up on everybody.
yeah. Their only real path to losing this division at this point is dropping 2 games that they shouldn't, and then losing to the Jets at the end of the season. And the Jets, if that's really the only pathway I think they have. I think that at this point, you feel really confident that they've pretty much locked up the AFC East.
Yeah, if they just continue to take care of business. One thing on the Bills, and this is something that Zion has talked about a lot, kind of in our just general discussions, is just the force multipliers on the defense. Um, Guys that come in and make everybody better in the sim. And Vita Vea, the definition of that. He was the guy for that Bucks defense on the Super Bowl run.
Yep.
And he is now taking his talents up to Buffalo to be the guy in their hopes of a Super Bowl run. So, yep. A very strong start to what is essentially in here an Aaron Donald like career at this point.
Yeah, it's completely elevated that defense, and that's when you can elevate the defense and you have Josh Allen, it's a lot easier to win football games when you give Josh Allen more room to run.
Makes it pretty nice, yeah.
So next up in the AFC East, we go with the Jets. How you feeling?
Jets, we're feeling great.
Yeah.
You passed the first test early in the year. You obviously didn't beat Buffalo, but you did beat the Dolphins, I think. Did you guys play or not yet?
Yeah, our only loss is
beat the Dolphins.
Bills.
And the Dolphins, we'll probably talk about it a little later. They love to beat everybody but the division. But so the Jets have played good football. The offense has started to look really good. The defense is as advertised. Like, I don't think there's anything more you would look for from a start to the season other than beating Buffalo. But like to say it's undefeated at this point or you feel bad, it's just not. The same thing with the Giants. Like, you're allowed to lose some games and be all right. And I feel really good about where this Jets team has placed themselves.
Yeah, I was looking at the stats the other day. I think the only thing that I'm not even worried about, but like have my eye on, is we have a much lower sack total than we had the past 2 years. Our defense really did a lot of work in that regard. I think we led the league in sacks one year, and we at the very least we were top 5 in sacks the last 2 years. But we also knew that we would take a step back in that area because of the hits to Hassan Reddick and Trayvon not getting much of a boost in Madden yet. So we knew that we would take a step back there. Yeah. The good news is that we have been able to get a lot out of our offense. Drake May is 3rd in yards. He's got 10 touchdowns. I was doing the stats yesterday, just tracking him a little bit. He hit a groove after throwing 4 interceptions in week 10 last season against Arizona. I think he's only thrown like 3 interceptions since then, but I'm probably jinxing him right now.
You guys play Arizona this year, you better watch out. They don't have any interceptions. They're due. They're waiting for him.
Yeah. I honestly think that the big thing with our offense was the Breece Hall injury, but being able to get James Conner. And I got to tell you, I think what I've noticed is that our offense does sim better with these more power halfbacks who can just grind out yards. So I'm curious to see how that holds up the rest of the season. But yeah, Drake made 300-yard games in the first 5 games. Offense is simming great. So yeah, we're feeling pretty good. And we played Buffalo pretty tight for, 2.5 quarters, I think, almost 3 quarters. So they just pulled away at the end. So hopefully we can get that figured out towards the end of the year. We're going to move on now to the AFC South with the Houston Texans at 5-0. You buying or selling?
I guess I'm gonna say selling. I don't think they're like an undefeated quality team, right? You
Yeah.
look at the teams undefeated, and they stand out.
Yeah.
I do love Anthony Richardson, so I will always stand my king. I don't love the rest of the roster to the extent that they played, um, but like that's still a pretty good team. I love the tackle duo. They're running the ball pretty well. Kyron, obviously, dog, but they're probably not going to sustain this sort of level. I think they're probably a shoe in for the division. 2 games up, playing this good. Tennessee, a little up and down if I get to them, but even still, can't buy them.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a team that is currently overachieving, but really the only like weak spot on their team is edge right now. Like you said, interior defensive line is really solid. They cornerbacks are solid. It's not great, but it's good. Deron Bland, Tarheeb Still, Drew Phillips, Roger McCreary. Like it's solid. They got two really good safeties. Hufanga and Petrie. A couple good backups there as well. The linebackers are really good with Okariki and Caden Ellis. The offensive line could maybe use a little bit of a touch up, but it's bookended by really good tackles with Tunsil and Zach Tom, two good running backs in Kyron Williams and J.K. Dobbins, and they've got solid receivers with Garrett Wilson, Christian Kirk, and Michael Wilson, and a good tight end with Hunter Henry as well. It's a solid roster. I don't buy them as a 5-0 team, but if you ask me coming into the season to predict a win total, I think 10, 11 wins is more than fair for this team. So I see, like, I agree with you. I'm selling only because I don't think that they're a 5-0 team, but they're a team that should be able to compete. They should not even compete. They should win this division. They should be able to make some noise in the playoffs. I don't know if they'll be able to win because the AFC is really tough. But if they get that second seed, if they get not second seed, if they get a top four seed and they play one of these wild card teams, depending on who it is, I think they could do it. Although the only problem is that the only real competitive wild card team at this point is probably going to be the Titans, because if the Jets are one, the Steelers or Bengals are two, that third wild card team is still probably going to be a tough team.
Yeah, that's the problem. To me, if this was an NFC team, like I could envision in a world them going win a couple playoff games or
Yeah,
something, depending on how it lines up. I don't think those opportunities are going to exist in the AFC, because our teams stack in the divisions
yeah,
in such a way. Um, so I think their roster is fine. But when you compare them to who they're going to have to be in the end, I do think they're lacking the firepower,
yeah.
to
I,
go up with these teams.
I
Just
mean,
because, I mean, these are, for the top 7 Super Bowl contenders.
there's a chance that the Ravens figure it out, crack that final wild card spot, and then the wild card teams are the Jets, the Steelers, and the Ravens. All three teams, you'd be like, any
Like
one
the
of them could win the
Bengals
Super
last year
Bowl.
falling into the
Yeah,
last spot in the playoffs,
yeah,
and I mean, yeah, like I wouldn't love playing the Chargers. Like they're not gonna be healthy, but like
yeah,
if the Chargers end up being that team, I would not like playing them.
yeah,
They showed their mettle still against the Giants last week
yep,
or 2 weeks ago.
yeah.
Like even though the offense wasn't going good, they still showed they got it.
I would very much love to trade some of these AFC teams for one or two NFC teams, because
Let's give us the Packers, please give us the Packers.
it's just huge. It's such a tough conference. Every division is tough. And with that, we will go to one of our tough divisions, the AFC North, the Cincinnati Bengals, 5-0. You buying or selling?
Buying. I'm not doing anything other than buying this team. I bought this team so much I spent 3 first-round picks to try to sell them. Hey,
Yeah,
if I thought this team was not a legit 5-0, I wouldn't have done the trade.
yeah. I mean, that's the thing with this team is we all kind of expected them to take a little bit of a step back with some of the trades they made, but at the end of the day, they've still got T. Higgins. They've still got Josh Jacobs. They've still got obviously Joe Burrow. The offensive line still has Garrett Bowles, Will Fries, uh, the and
Uh,
Josh Harris. They still got Daniil Hunter. They still got Sauce Gardner. They got Greg Newsom as the second cornerback. The only area that's actually weak on this team is the interior defensive line because they only have four guys and none of them are rated above a 75. So that's the only if that area gets exploited by the right team, or if they
Don't be
get
giving them ideas. I know what you're gonna say next. Don't do it. Don't you stop. Don't you have your ideas over there?
all right, I'll keep it quiet for right now.
Like, oh, I think you go out and trade for a fucking defensive tackle. Fuck, shut up. All right. Anyway, carrying on. Who's the next team?
It's you with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I'll start with this one. Am I buying or selling? Obviously, after the Dak trade, I'm buying. You have to buy this team. As I said earlier, 3 AFC Championship games in the 4 seasons that we've been running. Right, 4. This is our 5th season, I think. Yeah. Um, it's just a good team all around. T.J. Watt, Von Miller, Jair Alexander, Cameron Hayward, Jalen Carter, Grady Jarrett. Like that interior defensive line is nasty. Demario Davis, Leo Chenal. Like the defense is just sick. And then when you look at the offense, you got Derrick Henry. You tried to lean on that really early in the season, um, and it got you to 3-1. Um, and I think now you plug Dak into this team, and again, the AFC is just brutal. So yeah, I'm buying. I think you're feeling really good about this team, and I think that's why you went out and made this trade.
Yep. At the end of the day, the identity is gonna try to remain similar. It's we still want to dominate the game on the ground, but we want to have a real threat behind that. I think that was what was holding us back. Is that at the end of the day, who was going to be afraid of us before that?
Yeah. With that, because I think that division is pretty easy to cover, we will go to the Kansas City Chiefs at 3-2. How you feeling?
Buying them. I mean, I think that this team has always been a very difficult team to see be as bad as they've been. And that's even relative to winning like 10 games both years. Um, I think that they have weathered the storm of these injuries really well. You get Tyreek back now. The offense has definitely missed a couple beats, but the defense with no corners is able to keep up on it essentially. So I think that the whole team is not quite as good as maybe they need to be to hold up, but you don't have to be when you have Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, it's kind of perfectly exemplifies the AFC. I think that there's a lot of really worrisome areas on this Chiefs roster. I mean, cornerback, their highest rated cornerback is Mekhi Blackman at a 75. The edges are good, but they're not elite by any means. The interior defensive line really only has Kobe Turner, so the defense has a lot of holes and question marks. And so I think that if you're looking at a team, kind of like how we just talked about, the playoffs are just going to be epic matchup after epic matchup. But if you're looking at a team that I think you want to play as a wild card team, you have to pick the Chiefs. But then you're choosing to go against Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Tyreek Hill. So it's not really like a choice that you're feeling great about. I think you're
Yeah,
just
I
looking at
feel
it
like
being
this
like,
division is, or this conference is basically just you do not play for seedings. You don't play around with it. You win
yeah,
every game you can.
yep,
You keep your team rolling. You don't sit guys to play for the 7th seed or the 6th seed
yep,
because you want to face a different. You just gotta play it out.
yeah. And then you just have to hope, yeah, you just have to hope that your team comes to play on that day against that team, and they're going to have to do it 3, 4 times in a row. So it's a tall task.
It just doesn't feel possible to do it. It
Yeah,
doesn't feel like there's any team that can actually run the table
but
in the
but
playoffs.
the thing about it is, it feels like no team can actually run the table because all the other teams are too good. It's not that like
Yeah.
if it's not like it's wide open and there's no real great team. It's like they're all really strong teams that are just tough to beat. Like there's
You got
no
to win a series of coin flips
yeah
to do it.
yeah exactly. If really what you're hoping for is you just catch the team that happens to get injured. That they're dealing with a lot of injuries, and that's really it. But I think that just about covers it. Is there any other teams that you wanted to cover, or we can save this for another? Uh, we can revisit this uh, segment maybe in a few weeks.
I feel like the rest of these teams have just got to do something.
Yeah,
So I feel like they make more sense to talk about in context forward as you get closer to deadline,
yeah,
things like that. Um,
I agree.
Maybe we didn't think so going in, maybe we did, but the rest of these teams proven that to some extent they have work to do.
Yeah. We will start previewing some of the trade deadline stuff as this season. I hate to say it, it's flying by. The
Flying by for you.
well,
I'm out here grinding.
yeah, you're grinding. You're doing a lot of work, but it's the bittersweet aspect of the ACFL. You wait around all year, it finally comes, and then you blink, and we're almost at the halfway point of the season already. Uh, but that pretty much covers it for this week. Like I said, we will get into some more trade deadline stuff as we start nearing that part of the season. But thank you for joining me, Steele. Keep grinding, and join us for some ACFL action this weekend.
I cap